Considering COVID-19, reflecting on safety and responsibility. It is impossible not to have heard about the COVID-19 pandemic. It seems to have swallowed 2020 whole. Unfortunately, it also seems to be here to stay for the immediate future. How has the pandemic and the restrictions that came with it affected you? Noticing and trying to understand how you feel is important. Our feelings can influence the way we think and behave, so don't ignore it. Sometimes writing your feelings down can help you to describe them and keep track of them, and it can allow you to notice patterns and how you think it might link with your behavior. Most of us have probably experienced a lot of loss over the past 12 months or so. While COVID-19 may have ravaged the families of some, others amongst us may have lost opportunities, employment, or access to the life of a student that we were expecting and feel entitled to. Some may feel scared, lost, or desperate. Simply staying okay feels like an achievement during these times, and it really is. Most of us are probably sick and tired of all the uncertainties, all the fear, all the regulations and restrictions that COVID-19 brought with it. Isolation goes against human nature, and yet that's what it is expected of us. We are social beings who like walking, talking, eating, sleeping, and learning together. Being stripped of some of the things we most like to do may leave us feeling disempowered, angry, defiant, and even downright rebellious. Sometimes breaking the rules or regulations can make us feel more empowered. It may help us to feel we are taking control in a situation in which we seem to have very little agency or choice. For this reason, it may be very tempting to break the rules that we're being asked to follow in the context of the pandemic. Experiencing a lot of hardship early in our life may influence our expectations for our own life as a whole. We might hold the belief that we're meant to die young. In the context of these beliefs, it might feel appropriate to disregard warnings about danger and advice about how to keep ourselves and others safe during the pandemic. We may feel the need to take any and all opportunities to experience pleasure when it comes along, regardless of the consequences of our behavior. As people, we have all developed ways of coping with stressful situations. It's part of what makes us so resilient. When the problems we are faced with appears to be too complex or frightening or confusing, or when it appears we have no access to the things that might protect us from the problem, we may convince ourselves that the problem doesn't exist at all. We may convince ourselves, for example, that the problem of COVID-19 only affects certain types of people but not us. In this way, we relieve ourselves in the moment of a lot of difficult feelings such as anxiety, confusion, and fear. In this way, we manage to temporarily dodge a situation which makes us feel incredibly uncomfortable. The drawback of this kind of mental gymnastics is that it does not alter reality. At times it may feel difficult to believe that the whole world is under threat by the COVID-19 virus. Everyone around you may appear healthy. Perhaps no one you know has been notably sick. Perhaps it all feels a bit overblown and hyped in the media. We live in a world in which a near constant stream of news, information, and images are available to us through our phones and other electronic devices. The information we find may at times be contradictory, causing us to feel lost, confused, or distressed. One way to lessen the degree of noise around the current global pandemic would be to use reliable sources such as the World Health Organization site to get information, or to check any information you get through these reliable and official channels. Often, information circulating on social media in the form of voice notes or images are eventually branded fake news. In order to feel more secure in our knowledge about what's currently happening in the world, in South Africa and in our region, and in order to make well-informed decisions, we need accurate information. In light of accurate information, we may be able to make a positive contribution in the context of the global COVID-19 pandemic. The contribution we make will most likely feel small or insignificant. Perhaps it feels insignificant only because we're not able to see the immediate and long-term effects of our actions. Perhaps if we were able to see how we help to block the spread of the virus, or see how we protect our more vulnerable community members, or see how we prevent the death of our beloved elders, we might feel more validated in our efforts to adhere to the basic health regulations. The reality is we are all people with some degree of power. Our power lies in making well-informed decisions based on accurate information and to try and manage our own behavior, despite the difficult feelings we may experience at times. Our actions have very real consequences. How we behave has an impact on ourselves and others. Have you ever considered your own power? That you can possibly sway the course of events? Have you ever considered that you do have a fair measure of control over certain things? It might feel odd, unusual, and uncomfortable to think in that way, but there it is. We don't know when the pandemic will end, but we know it depends on every person's contribution in helping to stop the spread of the virus. The sacrifices you've been asked to make are your positive and significant contribution to fighting the pandemic. It's important that you continue to keep considering what power you have and keep considering how best to apply the recommended measures. You might, for example, decide to encourage your friends to do the same to prevent the situation from getting worse. It makes sense to lead by example. If others see you wearing your mask in public, they may be reminded to do the same. Spending more time at home or alone at rest is difficult and can get boring. It may help to do something you enjoy. This could be reading books, playing games, or listening to music. Try to stay connected with friends and family every day, either by communicating with them by phone or through the internet if you can, or if you live close to them and the local rules allow you to, by talking in person while keeping your distance and wearing a mask. At the same time, it's still really important that you reduce your chances of being infected or spreading COVID-19 by washing your hands with soap and water or alcohol-based hand sanitizer as often as possible, and keeping a distance of at least 1 meter from other people, and avoiding crowded places. Even if young adults with COVID-19 usually do not have symptoms or have mild disease, you might be one of the unlucky ones who does get severely ill with COVID-19, or you could spread it to others and be responsible for them getting ill or even dying. You have the power to make choices that could save lives, and together young people can play an important part in fighting COVID-19. We know things will not stay like this forever. So for now, the challenge for each and every one of us is to use what power and control we have for good.